reading where we need to be able to debate it. Then you have a stage where you have the committee of the whole house when we are supposed to be legislating. So we should also be able to understand and give preference in as far as at times when when we move under Standing Order 95, that the mover be called to reply, or that kind of thing, that to bring the debate to an end. Because we also want to be able to make that law into place. And at times, even time might be running out. So there are all many other considerations. And we'll ask that both our sides, we are able to listen to each other, we are able to debate, and be able to defend our positions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I truly thank you, and I take this opportunity to wish you a Happy New Year, and also congratulate you and the Clerk of the National Assembly for amazing work that happened in this Parliament during the recess. That said, Mr. Speaker, I'm standing to support this procedural motion because this is one of the opportunities that this House gets to showcase its prowess, even against its sister chamber, which is the Senate, where you served, Mr. Speaker. Whenever Senate returns some amendments to this House, these debates are normally so critical, Mr. Speaker, because at that point, this House is able to showcase its level of debate, its level of transaction of business, and able to even showcase itself as the true upper house of this bicameral parliament, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, the big observation that I needed to make is that this afternoon is a perfect example of how you end up being appropriated issues that are not concerned to your chair. This is a day that we are making procedural motions and dictating how much time we are allocating to specific motions. But you can see how the parliament is populated, how the chamber is populated. And later on in the session, we shall get into problems with members of parliament appropriating some responsibilities that do not belong to the chair to you, Mr. Speaker, saying that you're appropriating time. But when the business was being conducted, these members were actually not in chamber. So, Mr. Speaker, it is again calling upon the whips of this House to actually whip the members of the different parties, Mr. Speaker, so that they are present when very serious business is happening, up to and including, Mr. Speaker, what looks like mundane business, like procedural motions, up to and including, Mr. Speaker, what we call the omnibus bills, where we suffer quorum hitches because of mobilization of members to participate in very important debate. Mr. Speaker, I support the procedural motion. I'm okay with the time appropriated. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Right. I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 971, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 146, consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, be limited as follows: a maximum of 1 hour and 30 minutes, with not more than 15 minutes for the mover in moving, 15 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party if the bill is not party-sponsored, and that 5 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 12, procedural motion, consideration of business received during the recess periods.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveying of messages from the Senate and from their President of the National Executive, Standing Orders 120, 122, and 126 relating to publications, procedure upon publication and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210-2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the short and long recess of the third session, 1, Upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such messages to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2. Upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendment to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 3. Should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill become due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer such bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127, Committal of Bills to Committees and Public Participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4. Should any statutory instruments be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provision of Section 2 of the Statutory Instruments Act number 3 of 2013. And 5, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. Honorable Speaker, I think this is very clear. It concerns issues that are brought to the House when we're in recess or we are on any other, when the House is not sitting. And therefore, the procedure is laid down very, very clearly. And I would like to request the Honorable Junet Mohamed, the whip, long-serving whip of the minority, to second.
Mr. Speaker, as I second, I wanted to bring to your attention, Mr. Speaker, this procedural motion was introduced to this House, I think the year 2014 or 15 there, I was here. And Mr. Speaker, it was basically to make the work of the executive easy. Because that time, Mr. Speaker, as you remember, as a long-serving member of Parliament, you know that vetting of appointments never used to happen before the new constitution came into place. So a time arose when appointments were made when we are either in short recess or long recess or those kind of things. Then the executive felt that Parliament is wasting their time. So they persuaded Parliament to do this kind of procedural motion. But Mr. Speaker, as you know very well, we also have the provision in the standing order of a special sitting. If something is so important and so urgent, we have a provision in the standing order that says the House can be reconvened by the Speaker. So if there are 1 or 2 appointments that are of important and urgent in nature, there is no harm in reconvening the House to come and sit and deliver. Because the issue of appointments coming through the Speaker and the Speaker doing it in communication, Mr. Speaker, doing the communication on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was saying the issue of the appointment.
I was listening, go on.
Yeah, coming through the Speaker and the communications being made on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, carries its own weight, Mr. Speaker. Then when those documents and papers are just committed to committees silently, and then later we come, Mr. Speaker, in spite of all those lamentations, I second.